Alrighty, hello everybody. We are here today to do some more of our monster manual painting. Tonight we are going to be finishing up the Androsphinx from last week, as well as working on this awakened bush and working on, hopefully, the aarakocra. This isn't primed yet, so I might actually just do oh man, how do you say this? I can't even remember the name of it. Aarakocra. That's what it is. So, if you remember last week, we did some of the base coats and did the armor on this Androsphinx, and we painted one of the wings. And over the course of the week, I painted the other wing, so now we have two identical wings, and we'll need to paint the armor where it attaches here, and then finish painting her herself. And here is the aarakocra bird guy. So that's what we'll be working on tonight, and let's just get into it. Get a fresh cup out of here and some water. And I believe I had a picture that I enjoyed for the skin color, because the one for out of the monster manual is a little bit too pale, and the one on the back of this box was insane. So I found one, because this is one of the crossover with Magic the Gathering. See if I can find it. Yeah. The D&D crossover with Magic the Gathering, I think it was Theros, I want to say. Sorry about that. Alrighty. Okay. So if my stream does cut out tonight, is because we have some power outages going on in our area right now with the weather, so it's been a little bit crazy. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on getting a base coat down on her fur, I want to say. I think that's going to be the first thing I want to do tonight. So I'm actually going to start on this tail back here on her hair, because it's a big, nice open area. We don't have to worry about all of these tiny little sections, so we don't have to try and paint in between the weaves of her hair or whatnot. We can just immediately start right off with this big old tail and work on that there. I really like the idea of doing it in blue or purple, just because I think that's the Theros themed color for the Androsphinx, or the Sphinx from the Magic the Gathering. So I'm going to stick with that, I believe. Let's see here. Just looking up some more of the miniatures. Well, I can't quite find the picture I was looking at, but we'll just kind of wing it. I liked the idea of the light blue and almost blue-green cerulean look, so we'll start with a base coat of that. Just getting a brush out. And because I'm not quite sure what direction I want to go with the final colors, I'm going to start with a nice deep colored base coat. And for that, since we're going to go with the blue, I'm going to start off with the blue. And that blue is going to be Imperial Blue, game color. I like using the Vallejo game color series because of the super high pigment count that is in a lot of their game color products. The other ones, maybe the medium is a little bit much in them, and they're just like a little bit, they're much more designed to be in layers, whereas this one, you can definitely apply it in layers, but it's got a lot of pigment in there, so you can really get a nice solid base coat on your first one or two coats of paint. So we'll start off with this. We'll go ahead and put some of the blue on here. Don't need a ton. We'll thin it down with a little bit of water. Get our brush nice and damp. Get off most of that excess moisture so our paint's not too thin. And we'll start to paint the tail here. There's a lot of texture on this fur, but not really enough to be individually picking out each individual strand of hair and such. At least not for our purposes. We will be giving it a dry brush to try and bring out some of those details though. And we're just using a base coating brush for this. This is a big surface area, so we're just starting here at the back, at the base of the tail. And we're going to work our way all the way around. So I'm having a lot of fun with this project. This is the first bigger model that I've done, and ooh-wee, it was a lot of fun so far. Lots to do. Lots to do. Pop open the chat here. There we go. We actually did a pretty good job with our base coat of that when we were doing all the armor and such. We did a really good job of making sure we didn't overpaint too much. Here I'm painting with the grain of the detail, so I can make sure that I get in all of those little cracks and crevices, so we don't have any more of our base coat poking through there. We definitely are going to want it to be a little bit lighter on top, so we're going to do this base coat all the way through, and when we're going back through, we'll make sure to try and keep either the layers on top a little bit thinner on top, or using different colors even. But traditionally, when I first started thinking about painting this Sphinx, I was going to go with the super traditional like golden fur and such, but as I was thinking about it, I really wanted this to be very clearly a Dungeons and Dragons Androsphinx, and then the one that we had in the from Nolzur's was the one from Magic the Gathering. And I got really excited about the potential of painting something from Magic. So I definitely took that as a much heavier of an inspiration than I otherwise would have. Hence the blue and green flesh. I mean skin and fur. And we're just going in here with the base brush. Gonna go all the way down. I had a pretty good week so far this week. I got fairly busy at work in the middle of the week. We're having some staffing issues in the office. Not so much people quitting, but more so in an understanding of when people need to be in the office. It's not quite there yet. It's gotten better over the past year or so, but we're still having a little bit of issues. So I was pretty beat after work today, but I was very excited to get to paint some more miniatures. And my throat is feeling a little bit better from Tuesday's stream. I was having a lot of trouble speaking on Tuesday, but I'm feeling a little bit better today. Not quite 100% there, but getting there. Hey, popping into the show to support. Thank you very much, Mike. I genuinely appreciate that. It helps a lot when you join the stream. Even if you just join it, turn it on in the other room, and turn it on, and then just go to the other room. In fact, everybody, if you have more than one YouTube account, join for multiple. I'm kidding, of course. In no way, shape, or form does YouTube make me any money. This is just for fun. Nor do I ever expect it to. It's 100% not why I'm doing this YouTube channel. That would be too much stress, man. Okay, so we got the base coat down on that tail. Now, looking at it, very happy with that blue. We're going to go ahead and we're going to lighten it up a little bit. So we're going to go through with a lighter shade of blue, focusing mostly on the top or the upper sections. How's this deep blue? That's a little bit lighter. Yeah. We'll go with this deep blue. It's just a little bit lighter. I'm going to go ahead, without moving our model too much, we're just going to cover all of the top half of this with the deep blue. So everywhere that I can see, when I'm positioned directly above the model, it's going to get some of the deep blue. And it's not a huge enough difference that you'd be able to notice it, unless you were looking for it. From up here, again, just the top section. Oh, my table's rocking a little bit. Uh-oh. I got my table a little off balance. I will have to fix that later tonight. And then right here in between the two sections where we have the deep blue and the that is imperial blue, we're just going to go through and we're just going to stipple. Kind of like painting little lines. the illusion of blending these in together. To this, we're just going right down the model and almost making little tick marks. Kind of like you're going to take your finger, get close to the camera here, and just kind of almost like that, a little bit closer together. Like that, just to create a little bit of an unevenness to the color change. It's oftentimes done by stippling as well, but I prefer doing something like this. Okay. There we go. You can see we've lightened it up just a little bit. Actually, give me just one moment. I'm going to need to fix this table before I can do pretty much anything at my desk. I'm going to turn off the camera so you don't see the insane bouncing around that's about to happen though. One moment. Okay, and we're back. That was all. Ooh. I don't know if you guys heard that, but it is thundering out there. Alright, so I need that to dry a little bit before I do the next thing, but I want to do the same purple feathers here on the tail that we have up here. So we're going to grab some of that purple, which I believe was alien purple, but it might have been a little bit darker. No, it was alien purple. We're going to grab a highlight color as well. And that's going to be so we're going to do hexed lichen. We're going to do hexed lichen as the base coat, and then we're going to use some orc blood as our highlight. Doesn't want to mix up for some reason. That'll be our highlight color. This will be our base color. Again, this is a game color one, so very, very good for base coats and such. So we're going to grab a little bit of this. We're going to paint up these feathers. a little bit thick, so I'm trying to get rid of a little bit of this excess paint. There we go. Yeah, so this way, with this color combination and such, making sure to get the inside here, we don't end up quite as cartoony as I think the box art for the Androsphinx model is by Nolziers, but we also still keep a little bit of that otherworldly nature that comes with the magic of Theros. Campaign setting. Again, going with the grain of the feathers so we don't clog up all of that wonderful detail in here. And then at the same time, we're going to go back in here and we're going to clean up any of these. As you can see here, we got a little bit of our base coat of that bronze onto the feathers here. So we're going to touch this up a little bit. But I'm really glad that we were just touching this up and that we didn't actually save these until later. That would have not been as fun. This is also just the second coat on top of this very dark area with purple. Good deal, good deal. Actually, we were pretty clean on the rest of this, actually. Alright, cool. Not quite sure what color I want to do. Well, all of our hair is going to be that blue, so we'll get that base coat done here while we're up here. Actually, given the variation color of the base coat, we're probably just going to use the Talisar blue contrast paint. Contrast paints will allow us to get a good, healthy base coat that includes some highlights and shadows. We're just going to cover almost all of our hair here. I need to actually touch up some of these first. A little bit thicker. And then, yeah, there we go. Nicely done, nicely done. Alrighty, cool. So we'll go back over here. We're just doing the same thing with our variations of gray and white in our base coat. It really allows this contrast paint to actually provide contrast, which is a great and fun thing. But we're just going to go through here very carefully. So yeah, we need to repaint those anyway, so we'll just... when I normally do models and painting, my favorite thing to do is to paint from the inside out. And by that, I mean I like to paint the most hard to reach details first, and then move on to the easier stuff on the outside. So for example, like down in these crooks of the hair, it's a lot easier to get to them now than it will be after I do some other parts. Like here with the beads around her neck, it's easier to get the hair first because it gets farther in there and you can't really be as precise all the time. And when you absolutely have to make that choice, I like to do it in stages, as in doing my base coat first, and then going through with a bunch of my highlights and tones, and then finally going in for highlights. Each stage along the way allows myself the time to get back in there and clean things up. But with this, we're allowed to get a lot of good detail here just for free. And we also don't need to worry quite so much of it with it pooling up on small details like this, because there aren't a lot of places for the tensile strength of the water to be unbroken. Not a lot of places for it to pool up enough. It's being pooled by that capillary effect in a lot more directions and places all at once. The beauty of this translucent paint is that we're able to see the undercoat of our base layers here as well. And there's always going to be a couple hard to reach spots just with things like the back of her hair here. So we angle it so we make sure that we can see it with the light, and then using from the same direction as our light source, go in with our brush and get that painted. Good deal. Oops. Alrighty. So then we have her all painted up there. I like that. And then I need to go in and I'm going to tidy up a few of these sections. Actually, no, these sections right here and here, those need to be the deep blue as well, because that isn't hair on her head, that is hair on her body. So we have a couple more of those body sections to take care of with the deep blue hair. including another one right here with right here on her chest. Sorry, my wife sent me a picture of the cat and I don't quite understand. She seems very upset. The cat is hiding from the thunderstorms in our area. So, under the normal bed. Oh, it's the duvet. We couldn't find the old duvet cover, and we just found it. I guess we need to scare the cat more often under the bed, is what I'm getting at. Here we go, though. Getting there. Almost done. Missed just a little bit, so I'm going to touch that up now. Oh, it's a little bit bright, isn't it? Just going to add a little bit of this brighter gold onto this bronze armor, some of the higher raised areas. Now that I'm thinking about it, this was on the list of things to do. Just where the metal creases, and you see the that reflectiveness. A very thin color like this, a really thinned down version of this. There we go. Kind of just observing with your eyes where you're actually getting those reflections. And then just painting in the lines. We'll get a more detail, rancid brush here to do the rest of this blue. We'll use the Army Painter Regiment brush. Oh, and while I'm in here, I don't need this right now. I cannot believe that we shoved the duvet cover under the bed. It's a good place for it, in my opinion. Under the bed. Bed stuff. Okay. Trying at this point to handle the model more so by the base, because we do have fresh coats paint on a lot more of this model than we did when we first started. Not because of the smallest little smudge. Touch of your hands is going to ruin a model. No, but continually touching the model with your greasy hands, which compared to this bare plastic with paint on top of it, everyone's hands are a little bit greasy. We're going to make sure not to ruin our paint job. This is where we get careful around the gold that we've already added layers and highlights to. And I'm actually going to shift over a little bit because I'm having some trouble seeing here. There we go. Yeah, I missed big chunks of this. Okay. There, like that. Good lighting is so important for model painting. Cannot tell you the number of times that I've thought something was done and then I held it under the light and I realized that there was a bunch of spots that I missed. Or I go to take a photo of something and it is very clearly not been painted on a section of it because I wasn't paying attention with my lighting. Now, the OCD part of my brain wants me to go in and paint the back of this leg, which I'm going to do. Go under the legs here. But in my experience, all I usually end up doing is brushing my brush up against stuff that I don't want it to be brushed up against. So we're going to do this quickly and get out. Yeah. Absorb up some of that. Alrighty, I'm going to go in here again with the other leg. If you're a painter like me that has a lot of trouble with shaky hands, my number one piece of advice is going to be, in order to maintain and gain that brush control, you're going to want to brace yourself at all times against as many points of contact as you can. So right there I was bracing up against the edge of the model, or you'll get really good at bracing against your other hand. Because a lot of people can just use one of those attachments that lets you put your finger here and then they'll paint, but I just can't. I struggle so much with that. So we are going to do this. And then changing our angle. Paint get off in there. Okay. Then we're going to go in right here from underneath. Never so carefully paint the back of the leg here. You get all of it? Yeah, we got it all. Alright, cool. Now we've got that done. Alrighty. So now we've got all of her hair and fur done. Let's see what we're looking at here. Really starting to come together, yeah. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to add the next layer onto her hair, which is going to be a dry brush of a brighter blue over top of this. And here as well. And the blue that we're going to use is it was going to be Emmerich blue, but I feel like that's a little bit too bright, so we're going to go with Stormfang. And this is going to be a very light dry brush. Very, very light and gentle. Small one. I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to use this one for the very small detail areas. Grabbing a little bit, getting into the paint here. And I love this product. So this is from the Citadel Dry line. It's a paint that's almost See if you can tell there. It's almost chalky in its consistency. You can see it there in the bristles. It's not very thin. It's not going to thin down very well with like water. But it's perfect for stuff like this. Yeah. And going the opposite direction of her fur, you can see that it's going to start to bring out those individual strands and that detail. I guess, yeah, this is a situation where we could go back and forth. But when I'm highlighting with a dry brush, I don't know why, but my head tends to prefer to only go down. Alrighty. Yeah, we're going to get a little bit on this tail here, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll fix that if we need to, but I don't think we will. With a little bit of this emerald blue, not this emerald, the storm fang, we're really going to start to actually push up our contrast here. There we go. Now we can see this tail is really starting to come together. And it's just things like this, it's just every tiny little thing you do. I really like that. It brings it just a little step closer to done. And what the greatest thing about miniature painting is that you can keep doing these little tiny things over and over and over again until the cows come home. But like wherever you decide to stop is where you decide to stop. Especially once you've mastered some basic things like brush control, which I've spoken about before. Sorry, brush control, like I've spoken about before. Once you've done things like that, the rest of it's just techniques and mechanics. And if you've ever done anything physical before, like martial arts or something, once you've learned some basic stuff, a lot of it just comes down to the individual tasks and techniques that you use in combination with each other to really push yourself to the next stage and the next, level of proficiency. So now we're going to go here with these. Is this dry enough? Yeah, it should be dry enough. Tell you what I might need to pick up tomorrow. I need to pick up a purple dry Citadel dry color. I think I'm going to head over to my local hobby store and pick that up. This purple is one of the few that I do not have. Actually, I lie. I don't have a lot. I just discovered these dry brush paints, Citadel dry paints, not too long ago. And I've been dry brushing for years and years. But oh my goodness, having a product that is specifically designed for it versus just using any paint, I was surprised at the difference that it made, personally. It really does make a difference. I see why this product exists, and I do see the benefit of it. You can definitely see the difference in the fur now, especially, let me focus, there. You can definitely tell that there is fur there, that it is, and we've really just upped the realism a little bit on it. So, super and simple and easy thing to do. For her hair itself, I'm pretty happy with it as it stands. I'm going to go through and do some edge highlighting with the lightest blue that we have, that is kind of in the same hue and saturation as the rest of it, which is going to be probably this light blue. Vallejo again, it's a mecha color. I think it's their line designed for Gundams. But I'm pretty happy with all of her fur now. So, oh wait, I almost forgot that spot again. Right here in the front of her. Can I get that as well? Good deal. Alrighty, alright, so then the next stage here is going to be to do, so I have to pick out some details on her herself, maybe paint some of these gems, and then I need to do things like the beads around her neck, finish up the tail feathers and these feathers, and then obviously her skin tone. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the skin tone. And I'm going to do it the same way that we did the Aboleth skin tone not too long ago. Which is I'm going to paint it, well, similar to the way that we did that Aboleth skin tone. I'm going to paint it in a very light green, and then I'm going to go over it with the arithmetic blue, and then maybe a little bit of the Tesseract glow, the Necron technical paint for the Necrons. So starting off with the base coat of a light green, I need something that's going to be solid, that isn't going to just require 15 layers. So I'm going to go with Vallejo green blue, I believe. It's a phenomenal color. I absolutely adore it. The other option was a Wizard's Orb, but I'm going to try this first. For whatever reason, it feels like a Vallejo kind of night. We've been using a lot more of those paints than we normally do. It's very thin. So we'll try this here. So I know for a fact that this one is very thin, so I'm not going to water it down at all. We're going to try painting a little bit in this section here first. Yeah, there we go. We're going to paint the green blue as our lighter skin tone up here on the cheekbones. You can see this is where we did the zenithal highlight in the brown in the bridge of her nose. Yes, this will take multiple coats, but it'll be worth it. Over here on the other cheekbone, same thing. There, on the crown of her nose. Then along here, along the raised edges of her neck. I like that. Okay, cool. So that's going to be one of the colors. The other color, we're going to use the Wizard's Orb. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to block in a little bit more of the face here with the Wizard's Orb first. Just for like order of operations, it's going to be a little bit easier to do the darkest color first. So we'll start with this actually. And then we'll add in our highlights with the Vallejo blue grain. So go ahead and then painting faces. I'm going to do my best not to hit the eyebrow if at all possible. I'm sure I won't be able to be 100% on it, but we will save ourselves some time if we're able to avoid most of it. And this is definitely going to require 2 thin coats, since it's really precise work that we're doing. By the time we finish the first coat, the first one will be dry before we go back to do the second. Just being careful. Where the two of them meet, between the 2 colors that we're doing here, we're going to let them overlap just a little bit. Alrighty. Faces are always a difficult thing for me. I struggle a lot. I will say this, my wife and just girls in general, they have a huge advantage when it comes to what to do when it comes to painting faces. Because essentially what I'm doing is I'm starting from a blank canvas and I'm just putting on her makeup. And I actually watched a lot of makeup tutorials when I was learning how to paint faces, and oh my gosh. First off, anytime anyone wears makeup, I gotta say hats off to you. I could never. The amount of time, effort, and thought that goes into it is just absolutely astounding. But also, you really learn about the foundations. I think there's literally a product called Foundation, and you lay it down and then everything else goes on top. I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I watched a bunch of makeup tutorials to talk about highlighting and shading, where to add, I think it's contouring. Contouring is a thing. So essentially, if you are familiar with makeup, what we're doing is we're adding in all of this stuff. We're going to blend it a little bit. And then we're going to go through with this, or maybe a more green contrast paint. And it's going to kind of act like our contour brush. And it's going to help us to blend everything in together. So if that makes any sense to you, oh boy, do I have a better way for you to paint faces. Alright. So you can see we're starting to get focus. We're starting to get a little bit of the face in there. And this is not a model that we're attempting to win awards with or anything like that. So you can really crank this up as much as you want. Blending all those colors in together. Many iterations of each color. But here I'm just going to do 2 or 3 and then blend it all in together. Then maybe do it again. This is actually how I do all of my faces. And most of my large sections of skin as well, I will do something very similar to this. Just kind of block it all in, and then filter it through a shade. Like if it's the Hulk, it's a green shade, kind of like this one. if it's something like a bugbear, it'll be a nice that ochre color that they have, so on and so forth. I think we're gonna add a third green in here. We're gonna add a darker green, and that is going to be we'll do green skin. Or is this lighter? This might be a little bit lighter. It's definitely brighter, so we need something darker. Oh, there we go. We'll do army green. Oh, that's a little bit darker. Let's see how that works for the shadows. Grab a little bit here. Just right in there. Oh, that is 100% going to be brighter. Okay. Go with army green. Yeah, that's darker. With this, we're just going to hit some of these areas that need to be a little bit the darkest parts of our model. And then we're going to go back through here with the wizard's orb. We're going to kind of blend those in a little bit. And then paint our neck. Oh, I don't think I missed any chat, but there I did minimize. Yeah, I did minimize the chat. Oops. This is a lot of fun, actually. I'm really enjoying painting this skin here. Again, good example of outside in. I could have probably done this first, but I'm going to try and not hit the hair as much as I can. But those beads, it's okay if I hit because those haven't even been painted yet. So I need to remember in the future for these larger monsters that these are going to be two-parters. Or at least when they're as complex as this one is. The Androsphinx is a big monster. It has a lot more going on to it than even something large like a fire elemental, because that's just fire. behind of her ears are crazy dirty, guys. She did not paint. She did not clean behind her ears. Her grandma gonna be upset. Nana Androsphinx not having it. Nandrosphinx. Nana Sphinx. Would that be it? We are getting there. I'm going to go back through. Just with our second coat. Kind of blend these in a little bit together. These two shades. Just trying to increase the transition space between the wizard's orb and the green blue. It's going back and forth, kind of stippling them together. Just so that it's a little bit lighter without being super obvious. And even if it's not 100% precise with these highlights and shadows, if you just add the variation in there, oftentimes that's enough. And once you have the variation in there, it really does bring out depth to the face. So I wouldn't get too mechanical about it when it comes to doing faces. Just go ahead and make sure that you have some kind of highlight and shadow. Obviously don't shadow the edge of the nose and highlight underneath the neck, but as long as you have some kind of changes in these colors, it doesn't matter, because when you look at skin and flesh and all of that, it's more so about the differentiation. So it's not just one giant flat tone. Alrighty, we're almost there. Just a few little spots left to tidy up here. There. We've kind of blended the colors a little bit. So now we have a face that looks a little bit more like this. Still a little horrifying, especially right under that light. There we go. So it's definitely still a little horrifying, but we're not quite done yet. And as you can see, the experienced painters among you will know this as well. At this point, you can just continue to blend those colors together and kind of continue to muck with those transitions and get 100% of the way there. But if you're like me and you're painting every monster in the monster manual, you need some shortcuts. And this is one of them. I'm going to go through with orc flesh here. We're going to attempt to hide these transitions under a thin coat of a contrast paint or an ink. And yes, this is the shade of green that I wanted for her skin. Make sure our brush is nice and wet. We're just going to slap this all over. There we go. And now it's going to be a little bit shiny right now, but there is our face. Looks much more like a sphinx. Here's our face from a little bit farther away. It's definitely reflecting a lot of the light from my basement, but I'm really happy with the way it looks. Next we're going to do her lips. I'm going to do her lips in a bright purple to match the feathers. Or a deep purple to match the feathers, or rather. Dry off a little bit of this extra paint here. Missed just a little bit, but that's okay. Can just tidy that up with the clean brush. Okay, then her eyebrows are going to be blue. Alrighty. Add a small highlight of purple to the lips as well. Just right there on her cupid's bow. There we go. Now we have her face most of the way done. And we're going to add in silver for her eyes. Gonna go with a plate mail metal. For doing eyes, it's not as hard as you might think. Just kind of get it on the brush. Make sure you have good light, and then from your same direction, just go ahead and poke. Here we go. There's our face. Very happy with it. Very happy with it. We're going to leave it. All right. Now for the rest of her hair, up here and such, we need to highlight it as well. And we're going to start off, we're going to do that with, would this work? I'm going to try this on a small section, just this emerald blue. Is there any on there? It's on there, okay. Yeah, that's actually doing nicely. It'll be perfect. So we're gonna use this. A little heavy there. We're gonna try and go against the grain where at all possible on her hair here. Just to try and bring out some of the details of her hair. Just going quickly back and forth. Careful not to bump any of the spots that we've already finished. I guess I can leave this open here. Again, we're just bringing out detail. That's all it is. We covered up all the detail after assembling the model with primer, our base coats. Now our only goal is to bring some of it back out. It's like we realize, oh no, I've made a mistake. I need the detail back. And then we bring it back. Struggling a little bit with that dry brush. It might be a little bit too old and used. So we'll try this one instead. No, that one's even worse, actually. Okay. Here we go. This will be it. This will be good old reliable. Could be that I'm being a little bit too cautious with my paint there. Well, whatever it is, this is what I wanted. All right, there we go. Our next step done. Brought out some more of the details in her hair. We're going to paint that jewel on her head. Go ahead and just wash this. And to paint that jewel on her head, we're going to go ahead and we're going to paint the whole thing in a silver. And then we are going to cover it in a thin layer, whatever color we want the jewel to be. And I'm thinking maybe purple, because that's one of our secondary colors. Try it here. Oh, or I can just go straight into like a warpy green. Here's where we want to be real careful when we're doing this. So the last thing we want is to accidentally slip and get a bunch of this silver all over our nicely finished hair or face. And extra careful about the hair here. Don't touch the hair. There we go. And now we've painted that silver little thing on the top of her head. Let's see, I'm going to pick out a couple more of these to do as well. I think I'm going to do this top one back here, as well as that one, and the one on her back. We're not going to do all these little secondary ones though. So on these, we're just going to do the gems in the center. Using again just an older brush for this. It's one that doesn't quite have as good of a point as one of our fine detail brushes, like when we're using our face, but those only maintain their point for so long, so we're going to conserve it a little bit. Alrighty. There we go. There's our two gems. Guess we could do some more of these. Maybe. No, I don't want to go overboard on it. What we will do is we will get a base coat on these. This thing by her chest here. There we go. Getting there. These bigger models, they definitely take a lot more time. You gotta put a lot more thought into them. That's kind of why I like them, because there's so many different things to pick. You just pick out something to paint on the model, then you figure out how you want to paint it, then you paint it, and then you go back to looking at it as a whole, thinking, what does it need? What do I need to bring more attention to where I'm trying to bring attention to? And just move on from there. It's time to wake up. I don't remember why I have a random midnight alarm clock set, but I no longer have it set. Alrighty, and then we're going to use some purple on this right here, but a very, very deep purple. This is skyish purple. Skyish purple is going on her beads. On the back of her head there, can't quite tell what that is. So I'm going to paint it in the skyish purple again as well. This might be a necklace headdress thingy. Not quite sure. There's this bald patch almost in the back of her skin that isn't quite in the right spot to be like her neck. So we're just going to assume that it's a continuation of this ornamentation. Okay, cool. Alright, yeah. So we just painted in those purple because I really don't want the eye being drawn to that those bumps along the neck. So we really just kind of hid those almost as though they're shadows. Just because I'm not a fan of that, where they place that. But I am a fan of the silver beads, so we're actually going to add a couple more. We're going to go ahead and do these down her front in the silver. And these will probably remain silver, whereas the other ones will get transparent colors over top of them. I keep pulling the model a little bit closer to me every single time I go back and paint. It looks like I rubbed away some of the silver on this. Which I know for a fact until I finish painting this model, I should probably leave this to last, but this is actually almost the last step, so we are definitely getting there. I'm just going to go ahead and paint these now, because there's just no real good way to hold this model without a proper mount in such a way that we will not continually brush up against those. At least not that I can think of. So I'm going to tidy this one up, and that's fine. Guess I could constantly hold her right here near her hindquarters. Okay. gonna do these. Actually, I can't easily do these all the way down. Never mind. Another pro tip for miniature painting: if you are genuinely struggling to see the detail in order to paint it, it's probably not worth painting. Because if you can't even see it when you're actively attempting to see it, and you've done a black undercoat, there's no way anyone's ever gonna see it. Okay. All right, good deal. Pretty happy with the bottom sections here. Might definitely gonna need to. No, not gonna overthink it there. So I like these. I'm gonna do the back. I'm gonna do the ones in the hindquarters here. These little these orbs as well. I actually really like that too with the other ones. So we're just gonna trace the inside here in the silver. Leave the outside in the brighter gold, the inside in the bronze. Ooh. Just like that. Now, we're going to do the same thing here on the leg. Just make sure to keep our brush semi-clean. Like so. I actually really like that. Picking all these out. And we don't need the most detailed brush in the world for this. These are pretty big. Another thing I like about the bigger models, even the quote-unquote fine details are still pretty large. Definitely easy enough to get with your normal, what you would normally use as a base coating brush. Oof. Almost slipped. That would have been tragic. Okay. Yeah, this is coming together, guys. Oh man, I'm digging the silver. Just one of those things where I almost didn't do it. And I'm oh so very glad that I did. Because rockabow. Now look at her. Now we are looking real nice. Looking like really great armor. I'm gonna go ahead and get this as well. Getting all the little bits and bobs. I wonder what function these serve on the Sphinx armor. Not the gems, obviously those are ornamentation, but like these ridges here. Or I guess those could be ornamentation too. I don't know how much the Sphinx race really likes their bling. But there we go. We are almost done here. Just got a few more of these to pick out. I think just these here. On this leg. There's one. And actually realizing it, I didn't want to paint the aarakocra today. I wanted to paint the awoken bush. I think I mentioned both at the beginning of the stream, but I really want to get to the bush. The aarakocra I'm not as excited about doing tonight. The bush should be real fast and easy. We kind of earned an easy one after we wrap this up, for sure. That's too thin. There we go. Cool. Now I'm just going to do the ones here in the back. Getting there. Da 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 da. Okay. So now we have a Sphinx that looks like this. Yeah. Much happier with it. It's not just gold on the armor. Actually, for her helm there, what I'm going to do is I am just going to coat the outside in the bronze. I'm going to leave the inside as is. This is again that weapon bronze. Well, this is weapon bronze. I think for the base coat of most of the model, we used the maybe the greedy gold. I believe it was. So being very precise. Yeah, we're just gonna go around the outside here. Alrighty. Yeah, I like that much better than trying to do a bunch of fancy color orbs. Kind of fits into almost the precious metal vibe of her as a whole. Yeah, I like it. I'm also going to use this bronze to highlight a little bit of this gilding all around her, just to try and bring it out a little bit more. Not doing any specific kind of highlight, but the fact that it's just a slightly different color than the rest of her armor should help bring it out just a little bit. And don't forget, we're going to put big ass wings on top of this, so a lot of it's going to be pretty hidden on the whole. Okay. Good deal, good deal. Okay, now we're going to add some highlights onto the feathers here. We're going to do that just with a handy dandy dry brush and our highlight color of purple. Or the orc blood, sorry. So we're going to grab just a smidgen of it on the tip of our brush. Kind of work it into the bristles there. Oh, worked it in a little too well. There we go. There we go. And we're just going to kind of attempt to bring out a few of those veins and such. Okay. This might be a little too close in color. Oh, let's doing a little bit of it. It's a little too close, so we're going to go with a brighter color. It's very bright, so I was a little nervous to use it right off the get-go, but it's very bright purple. Okay. So we grab a little bit of that right there on our brush. Kind of work it in there, test it out. Yeah. I'm going to test it out here on the tail because that'll be easier to fix if we need to. No, that's exactly what we want. There we go. See now, you can compare that side to the other side, which is just solid dark purple. Oh, just trying to focus in on the model there. It's actually hard to tell here on this camera because there's such a bright light right on it, which is kind of funny because that's what we're attempting to duplicate on our model. Is a bright light source, such as like the sun or something. But focusing more so on the tips of the feathers. Now you may notice I've never done any of the bases on any of these models, and there's a reason for that. It's because we're going to be doing thematic trays for them as well. So there's that. This Sphinx, all done and dusted, with the exception of one small detail, and that is this section right here on the wing, where it actually connects in. Now I still have to mess with this connection a little bit, so I'm not going to finish painting that little bit up, but I'm going to call this project done and dusted for streaming purposes, because this is going to take a little bit of filing here, little bit of filing there, test fitting, and I might do that on a Tuesday stream if I don't have a project, but so we get an idea of what we're looking at. Here is, careful not to scratch anything. Here's the Androsphinx. Just place those in there. This one does not want to stay, but here we go. There's our model. We're looking good. Very happy with it. This is definitely one of the bigger D&D monsters I've ever painted, and I'm really happy. This looks really good. Yeah. Okay, cool. Shh, shh. Okay, so I'm gonna take those out. This is pretty much done. Yeah. Gonna put it away here in the box. And if you all don't mind, I'm actually gonna take 5. I'm going to put away the the mountain of paints that has built up next to me, as you can see here. I'm going to put all this stuff away and set up for the next thing, which is going to be primarily airbrushing. Or at least we're going to be airbrush priming something and then painting it. But you all don't go anywhere. I will be right back. I'm not going to kill the stream. I'm just going to actually deactivate the cameras here. So Hello, everybody. I'm back. All right, so we're gonna put the Androsphinx away and look to Instagram. I'll probably have photos up of this Sunday. I like to do my picture taking on Sundays, be Saturdays or Sundays. I'm usually pretty busy either one of those days, so I like to do my Instagram posts on the weekends. But we are breaking out the airbrush. Now before you immediately turn off the video, we're just going to be using this airbrush to do a prime because I don't feel like getting out the rattle cans. So the model that we have is an STL that I printed. You're not going to be able to see almost any of the detail, but it is an awakened bush. And it looks like I missed a little bit of the supports there in the mouth. I'm going to pick those out. I love getting to use my 3D printer. And this was a great, there's a lot of models here in the Monster Manual that they haven't really made good miniatures of yet. So I decided to get some 3D printing going on some of these. I'm actually going to poster tack it to the bottom so I can get the edges of his base here. Phenomenal buy. Just a roll of 3M tape. You'll never have to mess with poster tack ever again. At least for things that have a base. Because you tack it to something. I like to stick these upside down, which is why I hate the new GW butt plug shaped mini holders, because when you put them upside down, they become incredibly top heavy, whereas the old ones, much less so. So we're going to be using the airbrush here, and we are going to very simply be mixing a little bit of this Vallejo acrylic polyurethane surface primer. This is the they're just black. It doesn't say if it's matte or gloss or anything like that. I think it's pretty matte. It's not extremely matte, but it's pretty matte. We're going to be mixing that up with a little bit of airbrush thinner. So we'll start here with just adding some of the primer. To our cup. Yes, that is a lot, but I also have some other projects that I'm going to be working on after the stream tonight. I'm going to be doing some priming, so I figured I'd just mix it all up now. Okay, there that is. Oh, this is on the wrong hand. Duh. And then we're just going to mix it up a little bit. It's pretty close to what we want. Okay. Alrighty. There we go. And then we're just going to prime this baby. Cool thing about when we print in translucent resin like this is that we can kind of tell when we are actually fully primed because we'll lose all of that transparency. I can see now from my audio mixer that you guys are picking up my airbrush a little bit. Sorry about that. It's a pretty quiet one, but it could be a little bit quieter, I guess. Okay. Cleaning out your airbrush right away is very, very important. So we're going to go ahead and just do that right now. Besides the 3D printer, I would say that the airbrush is the one thing that really changed the way that I hobbied. Not improved it. Most people think that the airbrush is this magical tool that once you get one, you get the smoothest and creamiest blends and awesome object source lighting. And no. It helps with some of those things, but it doesn't just magically do them. I need to buy more airbrush cleaner too. It's going to be quite a busy day at the store tomorrow for Ricky. And then we had a little bit of dried primer in there. Oh, I hope it came out. Oh well. We're just going to open up the chamber all the way, kind of blow some of this airbrush cleaner through there, and we're going to get a little bit of the cleaner on a toothpick here. And on a Q-tip. And wash around the inside a little bit here as well. Move the needle back and forth a little bit. Okay. Then we're actually going to clean off our needle very carefully here. Okay. Good deal. I'm going to be using that here just a little bit, so I'm actually just going to leave that off to the side. Okay, so that primer immediately separated, so I'm not going to be able to use that later. Oh well. I usually use it immediately. I never actually just set it off to the side and attempted to use it later, but that's fine. Worse things have happened to better people, you know? Alright, cool. So that's going to go away, as will this. Alrighty, now we're going to paint this little bush. Gonna paint the awakened bush. Do, 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 do. It's been asleep too long. Pow. We're gonna wake it up. Awakened bush now. Cause he's the awakened bush. Alright, so we're going to do his trunk and such in an oak brown. And we're going to lay down a base coat of army green as the base coat for all of his leaves and such. So oak brown. Going to dump this super black water into my airbrush water and get new water to paint with. Yes, because we are smart. Okay. We're also going to paint the base, this oak brown as well. This is going to be a real nice and easy model to paint real quick here. I think that's why I picked this one, because I knew that the Androsphinx was still going to take a good amount of time, even with 2 weeks. But then again, I probably wasn't thinking. So we're just going around here. We're going to get all of the trunk. Now, he's got a brown trunk. It's as easy as that. Boom. Did I get it all? Sure looks like it. Looks like it could use a second coat, but that's okay. We'll do the second coat here in a minute. I'll go around here and do the base. You can see the size of the brush that I'm using for a lot of this stuff. It's not a small brush. Like it's pretty big. It's a big fat old brush that we're just going to use for our base coats here. You'll see me using one of these a lot. And it was in a pack of, I think, it wasn't 30 of this brush, but it was just a variety pack from Walmart. Because when I started painting minis, that was the brushes that I used, was just this variety pack. No, from Meijer. It's the local equivalent of Walmart in my area. We have Walmarts, but we also have Meijer. Basically the same store. That's just where I went, because I'm such a night owl, and I used to work even later into the evenings than I do now. So when I got off work, it's the only place I could go. So that's where I went. Okay, now I'm not going to use any of these grains. I'm going to get a fresh version of this grain here. I'm going to use this as a base coat for all of our leaves. But yeah, so like it was like a pack of like 17 brushes for like $6, $5. I was really poor at the time, so I was like, yes. And I would use them until the tips went out for detail brushes. And then once the tips went out, I would use them as base coating brushes, and then dry brushes, and so on and so forth. And the economy of that was great, because I didn't ever need to sweat, because I had a $15 brush. I didn't have to sweat because I had a $15 brush that I wanted to last me for a year. I had a 25-cent brush that only had to last me no time at all, because 25 cents versus $15, what would that be? If you bought one brush a year, I don't know, $13. So 13 of these shitty brushes lasted me well over a year. So I like that better. I've started to branch out and buy some of the mid-range brushes, like the red grass brush I got when I bought my wet palette. I have an Army Painter Regiment brush now that I got with one of the D&D Nullzors paint sets. Same with the Dungeons and Dragons one, which actually I think is just the exact same. It's just the Armor Painter detail brush. I like them a lot. Would I ever buy them exclusively? No. Will I probably replace these when they lose their tips? Maybe. Do I have no decisions made? Yes. Yes. It might be one of those things that I just pick up while I'm getting other stuff, but I'm never going to be like, I can't paint. I don't have my nice brush. It's ridiculous. I'm going to actually make the leaves here green as well. This is going to be a real quick model because right now, from what I see, we only got 2 colors. Got to look up a picture of an awakened brush, of an awakened bush here. I'm going to leave the inside of his mouth black for the most part, actually. Just paint these little teethies. Alrighty. Boom. There's a little bush so far. So we have to actually wait a few minutes for the paint to dry. I didn't think I'd get through both those coats of paint so fast. But what we're going to do is we're going to reapply another shade of that green up there in the top, another layer. And then we are going to wash it with some dark tone by Army Painter. And for the base of the tree, we are going to give it a dry brush of Skull Tyrant. And then for the base, I'm actually going to do the base on this one using some thin down glue. We're going to add some of the River Crafts. It's just mulch. And that's how we're actually going to base this guy too. And now we wait for paint to dry. Literally. Okay. Tell you what, folks. I'm going to ask that you go ahead and you check out Instagram for the finished version of this as well. I will post this up tomorrow for sure. I have another project that I need to be getting going on, and I didn't expect both of these projects to take 2.5 hours. I did a lot of extra stuff on the Sphinx there that I wasn't expecting to. But go ahead, check out my Instagram, and this will be finished and 100% painted up tomorrow. I'm going to work on it throughout tonight while I'm doing some other stuff. I want to thank all 3 of you for joining my stream tonight, and I really hope that you have a great rest of your evening, a nice and safe weekend, and I will catch you on Tuesday, where, unless I make some radical changes, we're going to continue painting the Necron army. Thank you all very much, and we're getting through the monster manual. We're doing it, guys. We're doing it. Y'all have a phenomenal rest of your weekend.